In this video on Doodle Sheets, I'm going to show you how to insert notes and comments, as well as the difference between them, how to use the chat window, how to publish your sheet or sheets to the web, how to download the file in different formats, how to set up email notification rules, how to email collaborators, how to email the sheet as an attachment, and how to see the revision history and revert the sheet to an older version. Let's get started. So right now what I have here is I have my same file that I've been using for both, and I have it split screen and I have them under different accounts. So this is almost like two different people on two different accounts looking at it. So I'm just going to show both windows at the same time. First thing I want to do is you'll notice when I highlight it, it highlights here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a note. You can either do that with the keyboard shortcut Shift F2 or you go to Insert and Note. And it's going to allow me to enter a note. Notes are really nice because they're just a simple text box pop-up. They're really useful for a finished page. It's not something that you want to do a back and forth discussion on. If you hold your mouse over that particular cell, you'll be able to see the note that was put in here. Not good for discussion, more just a note for someone else. Then insert another note here. I can use the keyboard shortcut Shift F2 and it pops it up. And I can put in my note and you'll notice that right away it appears on the other screen with the other account. Now when you want to clear out a note, you're going to right click on it and you're going to hit Clear Notes. So all my notes are now clear for that. Another thing we can do is you can right click on it and you can click Insert Comment. When I go full screen, you can see the comment button right up here. Also, the shortcut Control-Alt-M will allow you to insert comments. Now a comment is going to be a little bit different than a note because I can have a nice back and forth. I can see who said what. I can see when they said it. I also have lots of other little features that I'll show you in just a moment. So I'm going to insert a comment here. And when I look at it on the other screen, I have this little orange triangle in the upper right hand corner. That's telling me there's a comment. If I click on that particular cell, I can see the thread. I also have the ability to reply to it. So we can now see that on this particular one here, I'm going to have this back and forth. People are going to be able to see little comment threads back and forth about it. All of this within the spreadsheet without actually affecting any of the data. And you can see that you can even include links as well. Very handy for back and forth if you want to use those as a bit of a reference. When you're all done, if you don't want to have to deal with this anymore or it's resolved, the person who created the comment gets to hit the button that says Resolve, and then that thread is going to go away. It's not that it's gone and you can see it again if you want, but now that person won't see that. If you really want to see it, you go back at the upper right corner where you see comments and it's going to show you the complete history as well as when it was open, who said what, and when it was all resolved. So that's buried in the upper right hand corner under the comment section. I could reopen it if I wanted to continue the conversation or resolve as necessary. You can also see at the bottom here, I have a number 2 next to a little chat box. This is telling you how many different comment threads you actually have going on in this particular sheet. Another fun feature you have is when you're actually replying, if you put a plus sign in front of their email address, what's going to happen is it's going to actually send an email to them informing them of what was actually going on. So I put that little plus and then an email address there. That person in a few minutes is actually going to get an email informing them, hey, there was a reply to this particular thread or this particular thread was trying to get your attention. Very handy if you have a lot of collaborators on a particular sheet. Here I can see the actual email that came up here. It was informing me, hey, here's the actual thread, and then down here was the one that actually notified you. A really nice feature you have is down here, you could actually reply to this discussion without having to open up the sheet. Just reply to the email, it's going to put it in there. So I'm going to reply, type out something into the email, and send it. And now when they go back to the sheet, it might take a minute or two to update. You can see at the very bottom, even though I didn't have to open up the sheet to do this, I just replied to the email, it's now embedded in the comment thread going back and forth, just with a simple email reply. Another thing to note, there is view only and there's comment only, and I talked about those earlier. And the main difference, of course, is the ability to add a comment. Right here in view only, I can't right click and add a comment. Here I have the little button, view only does not have that. So I could right click and insert a comment as necessary if I wanted. So the difference between view only and comment only is the ability to add to those comment threads if you want. Now I'm going to try the chat window. Chat window is nice if you're trying to do real-time collaboration with someone. So person 1 right here in this window can type out something, and it's going to instantly show up here. Now this doesn't affect the data at all. This is just kind of so you can have a conversation about it. So here person 2 is replying, and you'll notice that I can actually even make changes to the sheet while I'm typing it out, and I can say, hey, take a look at the ones that I highlighted. I want you to pay attention to these particular cells, and you can have a back and forth conversation about that. Very nice when you want to be able to talk about it as you're actually going through it. If you click on the little gear icon, it's going to give you a couple settings. You can have it play an audio notification, a little bloop, every single time someone is chatting with you. Of course, you can also make sure it's not there as well. I have the ability to pop it out and keep it as a separate window. I can close it or I can minimize it so I can be working and it won't bother me. Another thing that you can do is go to the File menu and you can publish it to the web. This is a way for anyone out there in the world to be able to see your data, not necessarily within a Google spreadsheet, but now I could publish it as an actual web page. I have the option, I could publish the entire document, or I could publish just a single sheet. I'll just publish the Star Wars Legos, and I could publish it as a bunch of different options. I'm going to first do it as a web page. I'm going to copy this, paste this to a new window, and there you can see now I have a full website. You don't need to necessarily have Google Sheets enabled. You don't necessarily need to open anything up. Anyone should be able to view this. There's no ability to edit, no ability to sort. This is just published as a block of text in kind of a table format for other people to look at here. So that's publishing it as a sheet. I also have the ability to publish it as comma separated values, .csv, if you're familiar with that. Excel likes to work with .csv files. I'm going to copy that, and if I paste that, I could paste this almost as a link that anyone could download. So if you want to publish this as a link, someone could download this, open it up in Excel as necessary. Could also publish it as a PDF if you wanted to do it like that. So you want to link to a PDF, copy that, I paste that. Now I'm downloading it as a full-on PDF for publishing it however you'd want to do that sort of thing. One of the other options I have is under File. I could go to Download As, and I have a bunch of different options for different ways that you could download the file as necessary. A lot of people are probably most familiar with Microsoft Excel. To do PDF, tab separated. Let's just try it as an Excel file right now. And I open it up, and my file is going to appear very, very similar to how I saw it. Obviously, there's a few formatting differences between Google Sheets and Excel, but pretty much all the stuff is going to remain intact. You can download a sheet to Excel, and there's probably not going to be a lot of changes. Everything will be pretty much as you want in the format that you are most familiar with when you created it. You can even see the colors survive, though of course they have slightly different formatting the way Excel does it. Now, if I wanted to, I could also get notification rules, letting me know when people have changed the sheet. That's under Tools, Notification Rules. When I do that, I have a couple options here. I could be notified anytime someone makes a change or someone submits a form, and I could get a daily email saying, hey, here's the 50 changes that people made, or it could be emailed right away when someone has made any changes. I'm going to select right now just a daily digest. This would send me once a day, anytime someone has made changes to us, it'll send me out an email as necessary. Another option I have, I could email out collaborators. This is everyone who I have it shared or viewed with here. I can just send out any kind of message I want. Send, it will send out a message to them. Alternatively, I could email this entire file as an attachment. Now, obviously, since it's online, you don't need to worry about sharing the actual document, but sometimes you might want to get it to someone who won't have online access all the time. I could email it as a PDF or a .xlsx file. That's the Microsoft Excel file here. So here I'm converting it to those two types of files and attaching it to an email at the same time. So I'm going to do an Excel file. I'll email it to myself. Just hit send, and it will send like any other email. Other things I can do is I can review the revision history. Everything that's been done to this has been saved and logged. So go in File, Review Vision History. Now, all of a sudden you're seeing all this pink here. That doesn't mean that it's been highlighted pink. It's just showing me that everything changed. And since I made a bunch of changes with the sorting, it's going to show up like that. I can look over here and I can see a lot of different changes that were made. Here's what I did at 12:16 today. Here's what I've done at 10:30. I could go back to, let's say, July 31st to changes that I'd made to it. To go further back to July 3rd. And I have the option, if I looked at this and I think, oh, this is when I did it right, I could restore that version and everything after it is almost lost and I've switched it back to the way it was that particular day. You can see I have a lot fewer tabs down there. I hadn't created everything. I could restore it if I wanted. I could go back essentially to the day I first created it, July 1st, and you can see just a couple sheets here, not a lot of data, and I have the ability to restore it to any of those versions as necessary. Can close that down. One thing to note, if you make a copy of a file, so let's make a copy of this one here. If I was to look at the revision history starts at 0. So if anyone makes a copy of your data, you don't need to worry about them being able to revert back and looking at any sensitive data. The revision history begins at the inception of the copy. Couple other little options. I could see the changes or I could not. I could just see as it was without informing me of what's what. I also have the ability to see very, very, very detailed revisions, including who's done what. Now, you can see some of these are insanely detailed. I could see the differences I made between 1244 and 1243. I could go back and you can see how long of a list this is. So I could really go back and go through it very carefully, looking at what I did between 233 and 234 on July 31st. And at any point in time, I could restore any of those versions if that's something you want.